the first trend switch we're going to go over is a narrative in favor of the villains. So price is going down and it switches to a narrative favoring the heroes. Okay. That is the first narrative we're going to go over. Also we could go over a failed switch, but we're not going to do that because it's not really that important and I don't want to confuse you. Otherwise there's going to be too much information in the video. Okay. So we're going to keep it simple. If that is something you would like to learn, once again, just schedule a one-on-one with me. Down in the description, there are links. It's very easy to read. I'll leave emojis next to everything, so it's easier to read, okay? Anyways, so if you have your chart open, thank you. If you want to learn, mark up exactly what I'm about to mark up. I'll give you the date of where I'm at, and then just go to that date on your chart and just follow along. So I am on a gold chart, so just come up here to the search bar and type in gold. Any of these charts, it doesn't matter. The exact chart I'm on, actually, so the exact chart you want to look for is go to GC, Gold Futures, and it should say comics, okay? Okay. And the date that you want to start the overall villainous narrative to the downside is from Thursday, 29th, January 26th at, I think that's 1 p.m. You want it, or 1 a.m. You want to start there. And you want to take it all the way down to Monday, the 2nd of February, 2026, okay? That is the entire villainous narrative that you want to have marked up, all right? So, as we're looking at these examples on the chart, I'm going to pop up the drawings we just went over, and I kind of want you to look at them side by side and try to pause the video and see the similarities, see what it is I'm talking about, okay? Write that context down. Write the context down of what a lower high means and a lower low, what a higher high means and a higher low. Write the context down, okay? If you don't remember what the context is, go back and watch the video. Write down what that context is. Think in video game terms. Every time you see a lower low and a lower high, just think spawn point. Okay, if we're in a overall move to the downside, that means we are favoring villains. We do not want the heroes moving past any of the spawn points for the villains. Okay, just keep that in mind. That's important. So as we go through this, this is what I want you to look at. Don't get all lost. Don't get all lost in between everything here, okay? Don't look at all that. Don't try to read every single candle. We don't care about that. Well, I mean, we care about it, but we're not looking at that right now. So, just like in the example, here, if I can find some letters, yeah, I'll just draw it out. Okay, here we have point A, okay? Here we have point A, just like in the drawing, and here we have point B, just like in the drawing, okay? And once again, I'll pop that up on the screen somewhere. Now, when looking at a overall narrative it's favoring the villains, right? Because it keeps going down. Looking at an overall villain narrative, remember how it switches, okay? Just like in the drawing, there is a group of heroes that have set up here. We'll do blue. There is a group of heroes that have set up here at this spawn point. So we'll write group, hero spawn point. Okay, there is a group of heroes here who have set up at this spawn point. All right, they then begin to start to grow some confidence and they look to challenge this group, really any of these groups, okay, but this group, because why is it this group here? Because this moved down, right? This continued to move down and it didn't pivot the other way until here, okay? So this, you have to understand this. This group here is challenging the most recent lower high, right? Because this is a downtrend. So it's looking to challenge the most recent lower high because this is a lower high and then this continued to move down, right? Despite all this other random shit in the middle. We're not looking at that, remember. We're just looking at here all the way down until it pivoted and turned around the other way. So now that it has turned around, this hero spawn point is looking to challenge this group of villains that had pushed them down and made them set up their spawn point in the first place, okay? So these guys are looking to challenge this villain. I keep doing this. Why is this so hard to spell? This villain spawn point, okay? This spawn point wants to challenge this spawn point here. So as they start to bring, so as these group of heroes start to bring up the battle to this group of villains, suddenly they are stopped by a group of villains who go, no, we don't think so, okay? Suddenly a group of villains spawn in and they completely stop them from continuing to go up and challenge these guys here, effectively creating a lower high. How do we know it created a lower high? Because look, they moved up and then suddenly price pivoted the other way, okay? So now what should happen here, since this group of villains have spawned in, since we're in a overall narrative going down, what is supposed to happen is these villains are supposed to push these guys back down and take out their spawn point, effectively creating a lower low, okay? But instead, what we see happen here is these villains begin to say, no, and they begin to push these group of heroes down. But then instead of going down below this point, they suddenly start to turn back around, challenging these villains here at this new spawn point. So these guys here really have some big balls on them, basically. They have set up another spawn point, new hero spawn point, and we'll even write new villain spawn point, right? So these group of heroes have set up a new hero spawn point, and they're looking to now, this new hero spawn point is looking to now challenge, right? They're looking to now challenge this new villain spawn point, right? So since we didn't move back below this spawn point, and instead we have frozen in midair, well, you have to ask yourself, did this hero spawn point move lower than this hero spawn point? No. So it created a, where do heroes set up in an uptrend? It created a higher low. Why is this a higher low? Well, because it moved down, right? So we know it moved lower, so it moved low. So it created a low, hence the L in higher low. But it is higher than the previous spawn point here, right? From here to here, it is higher. So it has created a higher low. This is an anomaly. This isn't supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen. It has created an anomaly. And that they are now looking to take on this new villain spawn. And if they succeed in doing so, which we can see they did here, that is not good for the villains, right? Because this narrative is supposed to be theirs to control. That's not good for them. That's bad news, right? How do we know this new villain group was taken out? Well, because if this is where they're set up at, right? Because villains, they open up high and they take things low, hence this going down. Since the villains set up their spawn point here and the heroes have now moved past it, right? We can visually see that they moved past it. Since the heroes have now moved past it, and we know they moved past it because look, there's a heroic candle. It has closed past that villain spawn point. What that means now is that we have created a higher high, right? We have created a higher high now. Why is it a higher high? Because this is a high that has moved higher than the previous high, right? This is a lower high, and the heroes have now moved past it. So the heroes have now moved past it, and they have moved higher than this high, creating a higher high. Well, do you remember how a narrative to the hero side is supposed to go? I'll pop it up on the screen here. Do you remember how a hero narrative moves? It moves in higher highs and higher lows. Well, look, we have a higher low and we have a higher high. Isn't this a confirmed Isn't this a confirmed narrative switch now? I would say so, right? It is. It fully is once we take out this group of villains. That's who we want to originally target, right? But this is a confirmed narrative switch. The narrative has switched, right? Let's go back. We have a lower high and a lower low. This group of villains pushed this, follow my mouse. This group of villains pushed these group of heroes lower. And then suddenly, these group of heroes have set up spawn, and they begin to take the fight back to the guys who had pushed them down and made them feel like poop, right? As they begin to take the fight back to this group, a new group steps in and says, no, yeah, I don't think so. And they begin to push them back down originally where they came from to take them out of the game. As they're pushing them back down, suddenly these guys grow some balls and they say, yeah, right. And they begin to suddenly move the price back up, targeting this new supervillain group, right? And since this moved low, but it's higher than this low because it pivoted the other way, like it turned around and started going the other way. Since it's higher than this low, this is a higher low. That is the first part to a heroic uptrend. We just need the second part now. When do we get the second part? This group begins to take the fight back to this new supervillain group, and this heroic candle closes past their spawn point, effectively immobilizing them. They're gone. They don't exist there anymore, effectively creating a higher point than the previous point. So now we have a higher low and a higher high. So now we have the two parts that effectively start the narrative to a heroic move up. We have the two parts we need, right? The narrative has officially switched. So now we can look to target these guys. So once you have confirmed the narrative, this is when you can begin to look for your positions, right? But we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about the context. So now you see, and I'll pop the picture up here one more time. I'll pop the picture up here on the screen of the drawing we went over and the example on a live chart. So this actually happened in real time. And now I want you to look at the comparison between our drawing, and I want you to look at the comparison between the live chart, and I want you to compare the two. Okay, we're going to continue. So once again, that is a overall villain move to the downside, and it is a narrative switch to the team of heroes. So it is a villain move going down overall, but it is a narrative switch to the side of heroes, okay? So now what we're going to look at is a narrative switch from the heroes to the villains. So previously we did villains to heroes, and now we're going to do heroes to villains, okay? And I'll literally show you, like, I've been doing this so long, I can eye this. I can like eyeball this, okay? And I literally see one already. Okay, so I'm not going to mark up the whole move because that's fucking we'll mark up the whole move. Okay. So here we can see this is a overall narrative move up, right? We have point A, and we have point, let me make sure I'm still recording, and we have point B, right? We know this is an overall narrative move up because we can literally see it, right? We can literally see it. Like, don't overcomplicate it. If you see it going up, just mark out where you think that movement up starts from, and then mark out where you think that movement ends at, right? Don't overcomplicate it, guys. So if we zoom in here to point B, in a up narrative, what we want to see is higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Now I'm going to pop up on the screen here the narrative switch from a heroic movement up to an overall narrative switch to a villainous move down overall, okay? You can probably already see it if you've gotten pretty good at this. So if this is the overall narrative, the first thing we want to look at is where's everybody at in the game. So starting from here at point B, we see this as a high. Like you can literally see it literally looks like the peak of a mountain, right? Well, who sits above highs? If you remember, it's sellers, right? So there's sellers at this camp above this high. They begin to move price down, okay? A group of buyers, oh my God, a group of heroes then stop them from moving the price lower, and then they begin to move the battle back up. Okay, first of all, let's label everything. 1 second. So here is that camp of villains. Okay, right. Gotta stop doing that. Right, villain camp. I spelled villain wrong again. Whatever. We'll write villain camp. Okay, that's bothering me. Whatever. We'll write villain camp. Okay, this is the first villain camp. We know it's a villain camp because this is a high. And who sits above highs? Villains, right? Because they look to open high to look to bring everything down with them. Villains look to bring society down, okay? And as we can see, they started to bring society down, right? They started to bring society down. And then a group of heroes stepped in here. So this is our group of heroes. They stepped in here. They stepped in here to stop those villains from continuing to bring society down anymore, okay? So if this is a true narrative to the upside, what do we want to see? How does it move? Higher high, higher low, higher high, okay? So if this is since this is an narrative move up, that makes this a higher high, right? Because it is a high that is higher than the previous high, which are all these highs back here. It's high, right? It's the highest high. We haven't talked about that yet, but it is a high that's higher than the previous highs, okay? Then price starts to come down, creating depending on how you look at it, I guess. But since this is a narrative to the upside, this is a higher low, okay? Creating a higher low. So they have created a higher low here. How do we know this is a higher low? Because price suddenly stops and starts going the other way. Meaning a group of heroes spawned in here and stopped these villains from continuing to push society down anymore. So if this is a true hero narrative, what we want to see is these heroes spawn in, and we want to see them move back up to take out this camp of villains here. If they failed to do that, that is a problem. You can probably see it with your eyes. So they moved down, they begin to move the fight back to that group of villains up here. But then suddenly right here, something happened. A new group, despite these heroes trying to move price up here, a new group of villains spawned in. So this is a new, oh my God, a new villain. Did I do it again? I did do it again. Bro, I give up. A new villain spawn. So this is a new villain spawn. A new villain spawn appeared, right? As these heroes were trying to push the fight back to this villain spawn, as they were trying to create a new higher high to continue their bias, to continue their overall heroic up. A new villain spawn came in, right? So since this is a move up, this is effectively a high, right? Because it still moved up. Anything that moves up is going higher. So it is a high, right? But look, this is a high but it is lower than the previous high. It is lower than the previous high. So what kind of high is this? It is a lower high, aka LH. It is a lower high. Who sits above lower highs in a narrative, in a villain narrative? Who sits above lower highs? Villains sit above lower highs, right? Because villains sit above highs because they look to bring the world down with them. Okay? Does that make sense? So, since we know this is a problem for this group of heroes, because now, since this group of villains have spawned in and started to move the battle back towards them, suddenly they're taken out. Let me change the color so you guys can see this. Suddenly they're taken out. 1 second. Okay, boom, boom. Let's make this a bit thicker. Boom, boom. Okay, so this new villain spawn came in, and suddenly they have taken out this hero spawn. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen, right? Because this is a narrative in favor of the heroes. So why is there a group of villains taking out a group of heroes? This isn't good, okay? So these villains, this was a very strong group of villains. We can see so inside of this villain candle. It's very big. These villains have moved the battle all the way down here before a group of new heroes step in here. So new hero spawn has stepped in here, right? And what this new hero spawn's mission is, so these guys, they're looking to get revenge. So these guys here, stick with me. These guys here, they're looking to get revenge for these guys here who just got killed, right? Because if these guys can get revenge for these guys here, that means these guys really didn't matter, and this is still an overall heroic move in favor of the heroes, right? I mean, literally think about that. The heroes spawned in and then got revenge for an old group of heroes. That's very heroic, okay? So these guys are looking to get revenge for these guys. So since these guys are looking to get revenge, who do you think it is that they're targeting? Well, they're looking to target the group that took these guys out in the first place. It's these guys here. So look, as these guys start to move the battle back towards these guys, and they were doing a pretty darn good job, suddenly they're stopped. They're stopped in their tracks. They're stopped in their tracks, and they begin to move the other way. Guess who spawns above? Guess what happened? No, first of all, a lower high is made because it is a high, because it is a movement up, but it is lower than the previous high, which this was the previous lower high, so it was the previous high. A new group, a new spawn appears. I know I keep spelling villain wrong, whatever. A new villain spawn appears, and they begin to challenge the group of heroes that were looking to get revenge. So they begin to challenge the revenge group, okay? Now I want you to understand this. Write this down. If the revenge group, so whether in a overall villain trend or an overall hero trend, if the group that's looking to get revenge is taken out, the narrative has officially switched from in this example, from a heroic trend to a villain trend, okay? Vice versa with the overall villain trend. If we're in an overall villain trend and suddenly a group of heroes take out a group of villains and a new group of villains appears and they're taken out as well, well, since the revenge group got taken out, the narrative is officially switched, okay? You have to understand that. So look, so this new villain spawn appears, and they're looking to take out the revenge group. So this is the revenge group. And once again, why is this the revenge group? Why is this the revenge group? Because this was an overall hero trend up. These villains spawned in and took out these heroes. So these new heroes are seeking revenge for these old heroes that got taken out. and they're looking to take these guys out, these villains out who took out these heroes, right? As they start to move the battle back towards those villains who took out these heroes, suddenly a new villain appears. And they begin to move the battle back towards the revenge group, okay? If that revenge group is moved below, guess what that means? As we can see in this example, this revenge group got moved below. Guess what that means? We have officially switched from an overall move going up to now an overall move going down. And it all starts below this revenge group. And as we can see, what continued to happen underneath this level, underneath this revenge group, what continued to happen? The new group of villains who took control from the heroes, right? Because we can see heroes were in control before because we were constantly going up. This new group of villains have maintained control below this group of revenge heroes who failed to get revenge, right? They failed to take out these villains who killed these heroes. And everything below that point continues to be villain territory. So now this is a overall villain. So everything underneath this revenge spawn, this is an overall villain narrative, right? And until the narrative switches, which we can see here, right? I could keep doing this all day, bro. Until we see here where their narrative switches, right? Right here, because there's a higher low made, and then a higher high, and then a higher low, and then the revenge camp would be here, and they get taken out. So anything above this area here is a hero narrative now. I know I moved a bit quick there, but you should be picking up now, right? Because this was supposed to be a villain narrative now. Anything below this revenge spawn point is supposed to be villain narrative, right? Anything below this point. So if we want to be making lower lows and lower highs now. So if we suddenly make a higher low, which means a group of buyers stepped in, and they move up and take out a group of, so let's do this. So if we suddenly make a higher low and that group of heroes suddenly move up and take out a group of villains, well, then that's a problem, right? So then a new group of villains will spawn in and say, I don't think so, right? But if they fail to move those heroes back down below where they spawned in at, and instead they get taken out themselves, well, guess what? Anything above that revenge campsite, so if you draw a line where that revenge campsite started, anything above that revenge campsite is now going to be in favor of the heroes. So I could be looking to buy this now comfortably until the narrative switches. How do I know when the narrative switches? Because now that we are in why is the market closed? But now that we are in a narrative to the heroes, what we want to be seeing, right, is we can follow. We want to be seeing higher highs and higher lows, right? So higher high, higher low, right? Because we failed to move below this low. Next thing I want to see is a higher high, higher low. I want to keep seeing that now. If suddenly we make a higher low, right, and then we stop and make a lower high, and then we move down and make a lower low, well, then that's a problem. Or if we make a higher low and then we make a lower high, higher low, lower high, and then that's a problem. Anything other than what is supposed to be a heroic move up, which is higher highs and higher lows, it is a problem. That means that a group of villains have spawned in there and they're looking to take control. And the heroes have to prove themselves to you that they are maintaining control between where they got the control. So from here, where they got the control, to where they maintain the control, which is going to be above that which is going to be above that revenge camp that got taken out. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I moved a bit quick there, but trust me, rewind the video to where I was speaking a bit slower and go through those examples. Also on the screen, I will put the drawing example side by side with the chart example, so you can kind of pause the video and see what it is I'm talking about, okay? So anything above this revenge camp now is going to be heroic until it proves to me otherwise. So now that I know that from this point here to basically, well, this point here currently is all heroic, I can safely look to take, I can safely look to be on the team of the heroes as long as they keep proving to me that they deserve me on their team, basically, right? And like we discussed before, within that narrative, yes, you can, there are ways to take side quests, like you can take side quests, so you could take cells. However, you have to understand, you have to keep in mind where the overall narrative is going so you don't get screwed, right? Right, okay? So essentially what I'm saying is you have to decide what camp are you going to be a part of. And the only way you can do that is to understand who has control of the narrative. Bam. Just like that. That is all of it, okay? So now let's wrap this up. Let's go back to the drawing board. So in this video, or two-part video, I don't know what to go, but in this video, we've gone over trends. I keep looking at this screen, my camera's up here. We've gone over trends, and basically what a trend is the overall campaign story, okay? Not only have we gone over trends, but we have also gone over how to take side quests inside of those overall trends. And we have also gone over how to trade with the overall trend, okay? Another thing we have gone over is knowing when the narrative has switched from one side to the other side. So from one team to the other team. Just like in a video game, there is one team winning the entire game, and suddenly a try-hard, sweaty player spawns in, and he just changes the tide of the battle. And all of a sudden, the other team starts winning now. They start winning, but you don't know they're winning until they start killing your best player, right? Because your best player was looking to get revenge for your team. But then suddenly he starts getting his butt whooped. Well, now you officially know that the narrative has switched from your team winning to the enemy team winning, because your best player that tried to get revenge for your team's narrative, he's been cooked. He's been cooked. You can assume anytime your best player gets wiped, it's not a coincidence. He's getting his butt spanked. The narrative has switched, okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, once again, go back, watch the video. The thing I want, this, I cannot stress this enough. Get a notebook, draw down what it is that I'm drawing down as well. Open your chart, go to the pause the videos on where my mouse is, go to the exact date and the exact time where my mouse is at, and follow along with what I'm doing. Mark up what I'm marking up. Keep pausing the video and unpausing the video so that you can follow along and get it inside of your freaking dome, bro. Okay? And then I want you to do it on your own, okay? And that leads me into the next topic. Your homework is going to be identifying when one team is winning and then all of a sudden the other team starts winning. Your homework is to identify when the other team has started to take control. Not only when they have started to take control, but when the control is confirmed. That is your homework. We have gone over that one more time. Your homework is to identify when an overall switch is occurring. So when we are going from an overall villain story to now the heroes have looked to take the story from the villains, but not only when those heroes stepped in, but when it got confirmed. That is your homework. And once again, I'm breaking this down in the simplest way possible. I'm trying my best, at least. Hopefully you're understanding. If you're still struggling, look down in the description, book a one-on-one with me, or join the Discord. It is completely free. It is free, bro. I know I keep doing this every video. I'm sorry. It's free. F-R-E-E. It is free, bro. I know you probably hear that a lot in the trading space. I know I hear it a lot, but I am genuinely telling you it is free. There's no catch. There is no like you're gonna join the Discord and then all of a sudden you see a category where like, oh, buy my stuff. No, bro. It is just a community that I am trying to build where people help each other. Okay, so be a part of it. If you have questions, come and ask them. All right. Even if you don't have questions, I encourage you to still join so that you can help other people who do have questions. Right. If it's clicking for you, it might not be clicking for somebody else. Come help out. I can only handle so much. You feel me? So with that being said, you have your homework. The next thing we're going to go over. So first of all, let's do a little recap on our what act of the game we're in. So keep in mind, at this point, we have already started the game. We are just learning the rules of the game. Okay, that is all we're doing. We are literally in the game. We are just learning how to play the game. Okay, so we are in Act 3. It is the hard rules, the foundation of what the game of trading actually is. They are hard rules. They cannot be changed. It does not matter what anybody else says. These are things that are just innate nature of trading. Okay, that is what we are going over. 1 second. Okay, that is what we're going over. So we've already discussed trends, which is the overall campaign story. Okay. And we've discussed what lies inside of those overall, the overall campaign story, and when the campaign story is switching from a villain campaign to a hero campaign. We've discussed both of those things. The next thing we're going to discuss in the next video is liquidity. And in video game terms, all liquidity is XP. I think I said this in the last video, but these videos get so long. But we're going to discuss liquidity next. And all liquidity is XP. The game of trading, or any game in general, I guess, the game of trading cannot move without XP. That overall move I keep showing you, the reason it suddenly stopped going one direction and started going the other direction is because they got done seeking out the required amount of XP that they needed, and now they don't care anymore, or whatever's happening. It doesn't matter. There's a new force that wants to seek a higher group of XP. Okay, so essentially XP is just objectives sitting above the highs and lows. Well, who else sits above highs and lows? Heroes and villains, right? Buyers and sellers. Well, guess what? Heroes and villains are just XP. Just like in a video game, you're XP, I'm XP. If somebody destroys your character, guess what you turn into for them? Experience points, XP. That is what liquidity is, and we're going to go over that in the next video. And after that, we're going to discuss some other things like support and resistance, supply and demand. And the last thing we're going to get into is volume profile. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button, join the Discord in the link below. Book a one-on-one with me if you need that help. Come help some people out in the community. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.